through the presentation that we had before and the topics people with the keynote speakers, what we get to know was that we have a lot of potential with all the resources we have, but somehow we lack a few things. Like any other country, Nepal seeks a very stable and sustainable economic growth. With the last presentation, what we see is like small scale industries and medium scale industries are the backbone of our country. But somehow like these are the industries where we haven't really focused a lot. So we will be talking about this in the panel discussion. So I would like, we have a great panel to talk to. So I would like to request panelists to introduce themselves and their organization.
Hello. I'm Sushma Sharma. I'm representing here as a first Vice President of Women Chamber Nepal. And I have my own organization called Women Can, which is an NGO. And another one is investment company Wealth Planners.
Namaste, my name is Sixit and I run the ride-sharing platform Tootle. Thank you.
Namaste sabalai. मेरो नाम Sunita. I represent agriculture sector. In agriculture, from information dissemination to marketing as well as serve on your plate. And त्यो भित्र we're talking about tourism, we're talking about entrepreneurship development, we're talking about many more. And we are trying to put in one mala, Sayuntunga, because agriculture itself is a big sector. So I'm working on this. So finally I'm a dreamer and I share dream with farmers who are so much negligible people in our community.
Okay, so I'm Rohit Tiwari. I run a startup called Foodmario where we enable home-based cooks to sell food from their own home kitchen. So somehow creating a small enterprises in every homes, every kitchens. I would like to start with Sunita ma'am because she is in agriculture and we have seen that agriculture is like a mainstay for most of the Nepalese in Nepal. But to the data that we saw before, like it seems like it's going down the trend of like agriculture contributing to economy is somehow being like reduced every year. Is this correct? And like why is this happening?
Sometimes, yes, facts is there. Sometimes data, is it right? Do we have to believe in data or not? Or how data is produced? This is the main thing. Yes, data is showing we are just relying from noondeki sunsama in other country. But why? This is the main reason, main things I want to ask. Because we are not in organized. Agriculture sector, where everybody, even I asked the question to Prime Minister, what you do? I am a son of farmer. I'm an agriculture people. My profession is agriculture. Before 5-6 years, if you fill some document, you guys might write the name of Krisi, Kisan, Pesa, what is the another source of this. So, why this? One, our whatever production we have, and what is our consumption pattern. See, you are in the food business. What kind of product people are demanding and what we are producing. We are producing traditional product, rice, maize, and whatever, so on. But people are demanding popcorn, people are demanding pizza, the food habit change, people are demanding salads. And that's product come. And what product we are producing that couldn't get a market because we couldn't make the recipe. We couldn't make the beautiful plate for that food. Who can give the very option for the kodo? Kodo ko pito bata ke bancha? Who can say who is making? So, and the data is just like. And when we talk about the agriculture industry for as a raw material agriculture product, they say that where is the quantity? It's so easy to get from Argentina for the corn to collect from the farmers because of our geography, transport system, and many things. So, yes, because of easiness, because of changing the world, because of technology and everything, seeing the trade is going, but we have to change this eye of seeing. So data-wise, we are, yes, decreasing, but I have to say, if we change, if we see the entrepreneur journey and something on this, it's not take a 1 year, because every 3 months you will get a return in agriculture sector. You don't have to wait for 5 years, 3 years, 2 years. Every 3 months, sometime in some product, every month you can get a result. If we want to change our economy, in very second day, we start throw the seed, in a 15 day you will get this plant. So, second day we can change, right?
Going to Sixit, it seems like we were talking before, like it's a thing where Nepal lacks the technology, or like Nepal lacks this about with we can like have good number of SMEs coming out of Nepal with we don't have sufficient human resource maybe, or the right technology for it, but somehow Tootle has, like it's almost like a completely tech-driven platform. Do you want to add up things in that do you think that we have the right people, right technology for SMEs in Nepal?
Thanks, Rohit. I think SMEs were the concept of the 70s and the 80s. Let's keep the records straight. And when you ask me this question, I don't think that we have any kind of problem. I think we have a problem with the mindset. We have a scarce mindset, and therefore, I'd still like to challenge the topic here, SME. Why? Because traditionally, in Nepal as a country, we have never been able to scale up anything, so we like to see things as SMEs. We talked about tourism potential for last so many years since I was born. I mean, we've never scaled it up. What is the fundamental difference between Nepal and Thailand? We have more things to offer. But why is the scale there, and why don't we have scale here? Number one. We've also heard about the tremendous potential. I don't know who claimed that 83,000 megawatt. I don't know if it's true or not. But I mean, we have claimed that we have a tremendous potential in terms of our hydropower. But have we scaled it up? No. If you look at the airport, I mean, it's the same airport that we used 30 years ago, and we use the same airport just with slight increase in infrastructure. Have we scaled that up? No. So there is a difference between SME, which is more like a startup where you're satisfied with small things. Like I go and open a hotel in Pokhara, I become SME. But the challenge here is that we have been fascinated with this dream of having a startup and not scaling that up. And therefore we are troubled even while we buy 2 planes. Abdullah is here. Talk about Turkish Airlines. Now, how many planes they purchase every year? We have that trouble. So we don't have a mindset of scale. Now, what we can do with technology is that we can scale things up. What we can do with technology in agriculture, we can scale agriculture. What we can do with technology on tourism, we can scale things up. What we can do with technology on mobility, we can scale things up. What we do with technology on, if I call you an agro-business because you also deal with food, we can scale that up too, right? So it's not about are we challenged with the technology or not. We can build up technology because technology is just the means to the end. It's not an end in itself. But what it does allow us is to scale things up. But to scale things up, we need to have the mindset of scale. Because we've always been fascinated with this dream of making a burger. And if I were to ask, and this is the narrative that I built, if I ask all of you, how many of you can make a burger better than McDonald's, I'm sure many of you can actually make a burger better than McDonald's. But making a burger better than McDonald's and creating a McDonald's itself is entirely 2 different stories. I mean, let us keep this record straight. Let us not just aim at making these burgers, 1 or 2 of them. Let us create that scale. And that is what I envision in Nepal, and I think we have this tremendous potential with you that can enable things to scale up.
That does make sense somehow, that technology can be used to scale SMEs. But the thing, I want to come down to Sushma ma'am about this. For SMEs to get financial access is so difficult. The banking institutions and financial organizations, like I read somewhere that we have loans for bikes and like our vehicles are less than for SMEs. It goes up to 16 or 18% for SMEs. Why is that? Or like, is government or like Chamber of Commerce coming up with something for SMEs in this year?
Thank you. As an experience of banking sector, I can say something about this. Actually, when I was in a bank, I'm surprised that why MSME, SME, and microfinance is charged in high rate. Sometimes, around 24% also for them, if there is a penalty. But now the time has changed. Before, the government is not strong, and currently NRB has brought some policy that they have to invest something in subsidy. So currently, yesterday I saw some government bank, Nepal Rashtriya Banijya Bank, has come up with 3.33% interest loan for women entrepreneurs. So that is a very good initiation. And there is another private bank also, they come with the 7% of loan. And there are different products they are competing with, like without collateral loan also. They are bringing for certificate loan for startups. And there is another loan called Mahila Samriddhi loan, and other loan also, which is you are getting in 7%. So maybe all the 27 banks and other financial institutions will come with the NRB policy that they have to invest a 20% investment in this SME sector, MSME, SME sector. So now onwards, maybe there is youth startups, so you can, like this forum will pressure to them, and they can give more lower interest rate. Like today we can get 3.33 is nominal rate. So before, yes, there is a complication. And what Women Chamber, Nepal Women Chamber can do is, we are liaising with some of the banks to bring some kind of products for the women entrepreneurs in different service charge, without collateral, and lower interest rate. So we will give that platform to our members. Thank you.
But it's seen that it's so difficult for startups with almost just an idea or no collateral to go to a bank or like any other financial institutions for a very small amount of loan. So do you think like there is somehow like any case, like you have any strategy with banks or women commerce, like that you have Chamber of Commerce, where you provide some sort of loan with no collateral and with any financial transaction they have done before, or with the idea?
Yeah, we are working on that, but as a woman of Nepal Women Chamber, they cannot give the loan, but we just do the liaison work with the bank, and we do the agreement, buyback guarantee, a kind of, that we are planning to do. Thank you.
Coming back to Sunita ma'am, because as again we say that we are a country based in agriculture, and we see that agriculture somehow fails to be in scale. Like there are a lot of farmers, as you said, that people say they are farmers, but somehow it's a kitchen garden that they have and they claim they're farmers. Do you see somehow that we can scale to a limit where we don't really have to import, like that the trade deficit we saw, that we are dependent to our neighbors for even for agriculture related things after being agriculture company? Do you see it coming in coming years, like we will be self-sufficient with few things?
Yes. Yes, let's start talking about Apple. Guys, after 2 years, if you don't choose this, I need a Fuji that's best one Apple. You can get Apple from Nepal. After 2 years, you can get kiwi from Nepal. Every kiwi. And now the time to think about what is the value chain of such kind of product. Just I'm saying that this year, farmers get 100 rupees per kg kiwi. And that kiwi is very small size. So we don't like that kiwi. We need a big kiwi which comes from Netherlands. So some of our small SMEs entrepreneurs started to make those things. It's a time to think next way. So, yes, another part. Let's say not only horticulture. If we think we can go to pork, the pork is the best item for the nutrition and best consuming product all over the world. If we try, if we give a small attention, we can, and we can even export the pork and everything. But only one thing we need that, we have to make some of infrastructure for that. See, we have a lot of production, it's a different area. And another part is that we have a private property. And I'm from Newar family background, if there was a 2 sons, there was a divided. The land is divided in 2 parts. So the land is very small now. So use the technology and other things, that's a problem. And I believe, from last 10 years, I'm working in the agriculture sector, I believe. But one thing, can you believe it? I don't know. The fresh product, the #1 grading product, I don't know, we can taste or not, it will fly. And it is flying also somewhere. So there is a lot of chances. As a new entrepreneur, we just have to focus on that, how to help those producers and how you became also SMEs. Because SMEs are those who provide 96% of job market of Nepal, do you believe or not? When I was a student, I did my degree from Bangladesh, and the Bangladeshi people used to tell me that, how it's possible every people are like an employee, or they are self-employment, they have a shop or something in their Nepal. There's a lot of money movement and going on. So we just have to start something, we have to think on this issue, so then it can be sufficient. We can stop importing on many things. But if you start to work in production, that will again big disaster in agriculture sector. See, when people from MBA or other people say that what to do, we want to do something in agriculture, and they just say we want to plant a tomato. If you say, and if we create such kind of schooling day by day, this production is agriculture, we will fail, we will not serve. But if you teach them, only production is not agriculture, there is a management thing, there is a marketing thing, there is a designing thing, there are many things, then we can go ahead and many more job create as well as entrepreneurship space is there, right? So I think we have to be positive. And if you go to the village area, you can see only one thing's needed, that the collective things we need.
We all think that agriculture can reach the rural part of Nepal very easily because we're very used to it. But what is stopping people from investing or rightly investing in agriculture? What are those challenges that people usually feel for the entrepreneurs who want to start something with agriculture?
#1, there is a no contract farming law. The main problem is that if we say we want to do something, there is a no contract law in agriculture sector. Like a land, even there is no any law or any a labor law, investment wise. And another part is for the investment wise, bank always asks for the stock. When they give the loan or anything, they say, what is your stock? What kind of your balance sheet and other things? But we don't have a stock. As agriculturists, there will be no stock because we have to sell as soon as possible. We have to produce and we have to sell. And when bank will not invest. And when our investor, we pitch for the investment, myself, I pitch for the foreign investor, Nepali investor and many things. They think agriculture is like another industry. Set the factory, start the production. This is also not true. There is some natural things. There is some actors things is like a seed, some machineries, and another part is for the investment. In agriculture, it was a huge investment. Then you open the bank or you open even the motor factory or anything. It's an investment consuming industry. But it's a cash flow revenue wise, it was very good industry. We can generate cash flow as soon as possible. But one bottleneck is there. In gene, when we started talking about agriculture, if I say that raise your hand, that's who know the agriculture, everyone asks, everyone raise their hand. If somebody I ask, raise your hand who know the bank, very few will. So when many people know, in Nepali there is a one ukhan, this धेरै एउटा सिंहले वा कसैले बसाले कसैले पनि भेडा खान सक्दैन. Same thing happened in agriculture, in the investment sector and any otherwise also. So we have to, sometimes I focus that, okay, for the investment, for the investor also, they have to see it's a product. It's a benefit product, it's a profitable product, it's need a margin, secure margin product. We need to just decrease our number of farmers, decrease our GDP also, and focus on this. When people see there's a market, secure market, when they see the secure back returns and anything, they started to invest in. And for the investor, I just want to request them, please try to make some investment in like a big volume, because we need a big volume and long-term investment for as an investor and banks and so on. And I want to add that madam said, yes, from last 3 years, there was a one policy, 5% subsidy rate for agriculture. There's a many facility also. Sometimes you can enjoy the bank facility and everything, but we need some collaterals, we need some process, and we need. But believe one thing, you will get. I am the one example who believed the Standard Chartered Bank for the invest me. And one time in one program, the Nepal Rashtra Bank, when the person says, there is a one file come from Standard Chartered Bank, and there is a one lady's photo, and we don't see anything, and we just say that give a subsidy. Because Standard Chartered never gave the subsidy loan, agricultural loan to the people. I mean, there is an opportunity also, bank give you. And there is a lot of opportunity, and many investor is interested also. There's an open rate. So only one thing is our agriculture sector is still there was a unorganized, and I like to request like a Sixit ji and other person, we need a techno-entrepreneurship in agriculture sector. Technology, techno-entrepreneurship, and we need commercial approach in agriculture sector. Who are in the student of management, we need that. We need a financial analysis on this. We need the economics thing in agriculture, not only production things. If you come with those things as an investor, yes, very second day, there was an investment opportunity, there's a return opportunity and everything.
Thank you, Sunita ma'am. Going back to Sixit, we see a lot of human export, like even capital exports, that results in a lot of remittances that we get, almost like 22% of it. Do you think that SMEs somehow can help with that in context of Nepal?
Yeah, I'd like to address that question, but before that, I think I'd like to, talk about a few statistics about, the livelihood element that she recently talked about. Yeah, this UNTARD report for entrepreneurship and livelihood came up around a couple of months ago. And if you look at that report, it has some staggering facts. That 70% of the employment that is generated in the least developed countries, and Nepal being one of them, is through entrepreneurship. That number increases to 50% for the developing economies, and it's only 14%, 14% for the developed economies. Now, what does it mean? It means that we tend to confuse livelihood with entrepreneurship. So if there is a chia pasale who is selling chia, he's doing a livelihood. If there is a chia pasale who is opening hundreds of chia store, then that's entrepreneurship. Which means that this number has to come down. Right? Now, why that happens? Unfortunately, we are so much again fantasized and romanticized with this concept of entrepreneurship that if you're a chef in a restaurant, in a couple of years you think that you can open a restaurant. If you're an engineer working for a technology company, you think that I will have my own startup because I can do things better than you do. But trust me that knowing to make a burger is entirely different from running a restaurant. It's entirely different. So think about this, how many startups could Sundar Pichai, how many billion-dollar unicorns could he have not launched? The CEO of Google. Right? So we need to make sure that we need to consolidate things. Yeah. If there is a startup happening, if there is agriculture happening, we need to scale things up. And therefore, I pledge that we should scale up companies. American economies are run by companies like Google, Apple, Tesla, and things like that. Why? Don't you think there would be hundreds of employees in Tesla, or even thousands, who could have run there or started their own startups and made it unicorns? But that does not happen here, right? So our livelihood and entrepreneurship are two different things. And that scale also needs to happen in agriculture. Now, how it could happen? Last couple of months ago, I was in Senegal speaking in an event like this organized by UNCDF, and in my panel there was this person from JD Finance in China. And there were some very interesting things that came up around agriculture. The use of technology in agriculture in China has been amazing. So what they've done, and what we could still do here, is like AI is going to be big. So what they have is they have these cameras placed in piggery, right? Now, unfortunately, what actually happens with the pig farms is that there's a lot of bully happening here and there. So if there's a feed, the big bully pig would end up eating a lot of feed. And therefore, the rest of the pig would not be able to eat and therefore not be able to grow that much. So what they've done is they've placed a camera. And you'd be surprised to know that pigs, like human beings, also have different faces. Right? We would not recognize, but I'm sure the AI would do. So what they would do is, with the facial recognition algorithms, they would know which pig has eaten how much. And with some kind of robotics that's connected to that, they would control the feed. Now what that does is it increases the efficiency, it reduces the cost, and increases the productivity. Now, why can't we think of these technologies when it comes to, say, some kind of disease that this kiwi might go through? Why can't we think of that? Right. And I think at this point in time, if you look at entrepreneurship and technology to scale, again, technology can become a very, very important means of scaling agriculture. And if you were to ask me, if I were to run a startup next, I would definitely put my bet on agriculture because there's so much of an opportunity. There's so much of an opportunity there. Right. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dai. Sushma ma'am, so this question for you, how much do you think, because you are from Women Chamber of Commerce, so women's involvement in SMEs, and do you think SMEs are the ones who are going to employ a lot of women in future?
Yes, definitely. Before that, I also relate Chitiji and Sunitaji's issue with one example. Scale up. This is very important when for the Nepal, there is one issue, one story happened is 1 lakh piece something, you know, something demand comes, in that time we cannot supply the things, you know. Recently happened in Women Chamber also, we are planning to send product list in international market, because there is a demand. They are requesting us to send some proposals. So, but we are getting just 12 application, and that SMEs do not have any website also, how we can introduce them in global market. So, scale up and make your SMEs in, you know, bigger way, you know. If you want to sell in local market in 100 rupees, or you want to sell your product in $100 in international market, first you have to think from there. So, coming back to your question, Women Chamber have 100 entrepreneurs currently, and what I found is, you know, with the experience of banking and entrepreneurship, there is a lots of gap between bank and entrepreneurs. So we are trying to bridge the gap with the entrepreneurs and bank. And for the employment generation, definitely SMEs is one, SMEs, MSMEs. I don't want to say only SME. There's MSME also and microfinance also in the context of Nepal, and they are creating job, most of the job in SME. So that is a good part for us. But with if you see the GDP of service sector, it is increasing trend. But in other sector, if you see, the GDP is declining. So we have to be focused, and government has to come with some strategy with the subsidy as well as technical support, technical assistance for the SMEs also, I think.
Okay, thank you. Through this panel, what we just listened to was, we got to know that SMEs can help us to grow. At the same time, technology can be used in agriculture or any other field to scale up. At the same time, a lot of employment can be generated through SMEs. I would like to have like 2-3 questions, if you have, for our panelists to answer, like only 2-3 questions. Anyone?
Hi, my question is to Sixit especially, or like I'll answer from anyone. On talking about scaling up our businesses or SMEs, scaling up also requires that you have your minds in varied fields. Say for example, large companies or businesses might have departments on their own to talk about legal aspects or finances and stuff. When we're talking about SMEs, we're talking about people who have ideas, maybe business minds, maybe marketing, management minds at most, but regulations apply to them as well. So how can SME afford, or say what is the proper model that they can actually be compliant to all legal issues that they need to comply and have a proper management of their finances as well?
See, the first thing is that, you know, when you start up with the energy of the youth. But when you scale up, you need structures. And if you look at most of the companies, they get into this startup death trap, right? You rightly asked that there is a challenge between moving from startup to a scale up. And scale up requires more focus, more constitutionalized processes that can make the organization more resilient. Because when you scale up, you grow. When you grow, then there are so many notes that you hit in terms of regulations, in terms of your accounting, in terms of your finance, in terms of your marketing and things like that. So as a company moves from startup to scale up, it moves on from being a speedboat to a big ship. Now there's a challenge again. If you're a big ship, you also become more bureaucratic. And therefore, as an entrepreneur, as a manager, as a leader, what you need to do is you need to have a big ship that can also move with agility. Now that is a management practice, right? And that requires innovation, that requires different type of structures to how the things have done. So I think there is a huge difference, and you rightly mentioned that startups are like moving fast moving boats. Startups are like scaled up companies are like more ships. Now the idea is how you can make the elephant to dance, right? So that is where the crux happens. Now there's another challenge in Nepal. Another challenge that I see in Nepal is that now what's happening right now is, unfortunately, in countries like ours, we have lot of influence into startups from development agencies, multilateral, bilateral, because the model of philanthropy and NGOs is almost over for them. And therefore now they also want to have their own foothold into startup, because this is something that's growing, right? Now that could also lead to a kind of a debt trap for startups, because like I said, making a burger and creating McDonald's. Now what these agencies do is that they would make you cook a burger and write a report on how the burger is made, rather than helping them to scale up the companies, right? So, we are at a very, very vulnerable stage if you look at how we should play our cards. So, therefore, to scale up, creating structures, creating processes are important, but at the same time, it's also important to remain very, very focused and not be derailed through these fringe activities that come by your side, because, like our startups and entrepreneurs love the romanticism that is around them, there are also these agencies who are around you who love to create romantic stories around you on how the burger is made, but focus on how you can create a McDonald's. That should be the goal.
Okay, so last one question and then we'll wrap up. Anyone with any questions? One there.
Question is related to agriculture, and in the context of Nepal, I can see businesses springing up as organic farming. And so in Nepal, we have a lot of agriculture production, but then most of the food that is produced is not so much consumption of the people. So if we could make widespread agriculture production in terms of organic farming, does it pose more challenges, or would it be better for the economy of our country?
Thank you. I think I will address. See, there is always debate how we have to drive our agriculture. It's organically way, or IPM, or chemical hugely production only. So everything, I don't say anything, but you have to see as a market. Is there market or not? In agriculture, especially, you have to see the opposite way of marketing. What you taught in our university as a 7 Ps, 4 Ps, and others. In other product, you have to start think about production. Products that's like chowcho, noodles. It's easily make the noodles, wrapping, make a good packaging, make an advertisement, making the model available in retail shop and everywhere, and people will buy. But when you think about agriculture, you just have to see first where is the market. You have to generate a market with some tie-up with a producer, then you confirm the market, and slowly you have to go down in products. So whatever you think, we have a so short time, we can talk at a tea time also, but one thing, whatever you do, or it's consumer or not, it's yes or not, it's possible or not, this is different part. Just think, is there market or not? This is the main. And including it, beside your question, before wrapping and everything, I have one solution for the SMEs. See, we can't say that scale up, it's not easy, investment-wise. See, this is just like a one tulsi. We want to, everybody knows that if you take that 4 tulsi leaf in morning, it's just so much good for the health. But we can't do marketing, we can't do branding, because our market size is very small, everything. We can't use the technology, we can't make the website, madam. We can't see the Facebook page also, it's costing and everything. But what we can do is that if you collect 100 entrepreneurs, small, who have just like a 500 rupees business products and everything, and somebody do the marketing. What we also doing same things. It's like a near 300 entrepreneurs we collect and we do their product marketing, testing, packaging, everything. And we say that, okay, brand it here oneself, branding, if you can invest, there is a market only. So SM is like chia pasale also. Even in many things, we can't invest. See, sometimes we think that 1 lakh is nothing for that. But for someone, 1 lakh is big. Before concluding everything, sessions, I made one chia pasale that's every day he saved the 500 rupees. He's not an entrepreneur that time. He's an enterprise running. He has a small shop. Now it's in front of my office. Now he sells 600 to 800 tea. And yesterday he told me that that's 500 per the day when I earn a 500. That time also I have ambitions to make a big. Now also I have a big ambitions. But somebody have to pull or somebody have to push. For the SMEs, push and pull is there. And don't forget that most of job creation is from the SMEs. It might be the one boss and one staff, or one boss or 10 staff, or one boss, 100 staffs. There are the SMEs, and everybody's journey starts from SMEs.
Yes, thank you.
I have something important to share, if you don't mind. When I talk about scale up, now we think too much from the demand side of things, right? Demand is going to be there as long as there are more people being born. And there's going to be an exponential growth in demand, whether you talk about any kind of business, air travel, education, agriculture. People are going to eat more, people are going to travel more, people are going to talk in the phone more. So demand is going to be always higher. What you need to think about when you scale up a business is the supply side. Because if you look at most of the businesses, it runs on the supply side. So how you efficiently make your supply better every time. And when we talk about scale, I think one of the very important elements of creating a scale is also about replicating the procedures, the practices, right? So if there is a chia pasal in somewhere there, right? Now this chia pasal is running this chia pasal and doing pretty well. Now when the same person opens a chia pasal at somewhere else or 10 different places, what happens is that skill gets replicated. And when that skill and that processes get replicated, there is a standardization that happens. Standardization in operations, standardization in your service delivery, standardization in everything, right? So it's about also replicating skills, talents, and your procedures in different places. And it's also about thinking from a supply side, how you make it more efficient. I think these are very important things that I just wanted to share with you as a part of my experience.
Thank you so much, all the panelists. So we don't really have time now, so you can definitely meet them after we come downstairs. So yeah, thank you so much for the patience.